In these notes, we'll be looking at some examples of solving inequalities by subtraction. So last time we looked at it by solving using addition, and now we're going to do that by subtraction. So very similar skills, it's just we're using a different operation. And so just identifying the difference between those types of inequalities. So first, the subtraction property of inequality here at the top says that subtracting the same number from both sides of an inequality produces an equivalent inequality. So all that's saying is that if we subtract the same number from both sides of an inequality symbol, then that inequality is still equivalent to itself. Right? It hasn't. The only thing that's changed is the numbers. It doesn't switch anything for the inequality, and it doesn't mess anything up. Okay? So we can subtract the same thing from both sides. So let's look at some examples of that. On A here, we have y plus 8 is less than or equal to 5. Okay? Y plus 8 is less than or equal to 5. So I'm looking for what y is equal to. That's how I solve the inequality. What number plus 8 is less than or equal to 5? And again, there will be a lot of answers. That's what the inequality gives us. And so we identify that there's a plus 8, and we want to remove that, so the y is by itself. So I'm going to subtract 8, and I have to do that to both sides of the inequality. So 8 minus 8 is 0, so that leaves me with just y. And then I bring down my symbol, less than or equal to, and then 5 minus 8 is negative 3. 5 minus 8 is negative 3. Remember, if you struggle with those negatives, make sure you're using a calculator or some number line. So that's our solution. Y is less than or equal to negative 3. We just subtracted 8 from both sides. And then we need to graph that solution onto the number line. We want to give a visual representation of it. Okay, so let's do that now. Here's our solution. So remember, with these blank number lines, you can choose where the numbers are. You just want to make sure you're leaving space to draw your arrow. Okay? So I know that I need to put negative 3 on here somewhere. So I'm just going to put it right here, and then fill in the numbers that are bigger than that. Oops, that's not bigger. And the numbers that are smaller than that. So I put negative 3 on my number line, and again, you can choose where you're putting that, and then just fill in the rest of your numbers that are bigger and that are smaller. And then my solution is y is less than or equal to negative 3. So because it's less than or equal to, I'm going to use a closed filled-in dot. Okay? So right here at negative 3. And this is saying that y is less than or equal to negative 3. So that means the solutions, all of the numbers that fit this inequality, are less than or equal to negative 3. And so that was too big. I was just trying to make it a little bit bigger. That would be our arrow right there. Okay? So that is the arrow for y is less than or equal to negative 3. We have a closed dot at negative 3, and then the arrow going off to the left, because those are the numbers that are smaller than negative 3. So very similar to what we did last time, we're just solving it a little differently. Let's look at another example. Okay, let's look at B. B says m plus 4 is greater than negative 8. Okay, greater than negative 8. And so we want to figure out what m is equal to. What number plus 4 is greater than negative 8? And so it's plus 4, so we're going to subtract 4 from both sides of the inequality symbol. Subtract 4 from both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0. Leaves me with m is greater than negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. Negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. Again, if you're not feeling super comfortable with negatives, make sure you're using that calculator. And so that's our solution. The m that fits this inequality is any number that's bigger than negative 12. Okay? Any number that's bigger than negative 12 makes this inequality true. And so I'm going to graph that on my number line. So again, I can put that anywhere. I can put negative 12 right here, and then all the numbers that are bigger than that to the right. You should be getting really good practice with the number line and where numbers go. What's bigger, what's smaller. And then we're going to put our point and our arrow on there. Okay, so m is greater than negative 12. M is greater than negative 12. So I'm going to start at negative 12, and since it's just greater than, not greater than or equal to, it's just greater than, I'm going to do an open circle at negative 12. Open circle at negative 12. And then it says m is greater than negative 12. So I'm going to draw an arrow to the right to all the numbers that are bigger than negative 12. Okay. Those are all the numbers that are bigger than negative 12. And so that's what that graph would look like, because we have an open circle at negative 12, meaning we're not equal to negative 12, but anything that's bigger than negative 12 to the right of it would work, okay, would be a solution for this inequality. So that's the normal procedure. We solve it, and then we graph it. Another thing that you'll want to do is that, it won't always be solve this by subtraction, solve this by addition, and so you want to make sure you're identifying, okay, what operation am I going to use here? Am I going to have to add a number? Am I going to have to subtract a number? How am I going to solve this? And then find your solution and graph it. All right, so the next two, C and D, say try on your own. So why don't you go ahead and stop the video and try those on your own now, and then we'll look at the answers in just a second. All right, so here are the answers for C and D. We zoom in a little bit here, C, we would subtract 5 from both sides and get K is greater than or equal to negative 8. K is greater than or equal to negative 8, and this is what our graph would look like. Have a closed out at negative 8 and the arrow going off to the right, all the numbers that are greater than negative 8. And then D, we have t plus 6 is greater than 5. We would subtract 6 from both sides, and we get t is greater than negative 1. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And so we have an open circle at negative 1 because it's just greater than, and then an arrow going off to the right because those are the numbers that are greater than negative 1. So those are the two solutions for C and D, so hopefully you have those or on the right track. Okay, so now we're going to continue practicing with solving these inequalities by addition and subtraction.